Why are pale Arab invaders in Africa digging up our dead and pretending to rebury them properly, proving that they are indeed invaders? If our ancestors were cremated, would they be excited? Like, why are they digging our ancestors up? It is clear that there is a lot of issues around our ancestors, because we know that they ate the mummies. Go and watch this video, and we know that even Leonardo da Vinci, man of science, also ate the mummy. Let us look at this topic, a perspective of cremation. Cremation is not our option. Cremation is no expression in male and dominant human beings or in Africans in our burial rites and rituals. Why? Because we understand that there is a sinister force or sinister forces that may be behind cremation and pushing for cremation and causing accidents where people are incinerated. Other than our rich burial rites that must be done at the graveside with the body of the deceased, we have no archaeological proof that our wise ancestors ever thought of cremation as part of burial customs. And what is cremation? It is when a body is burned into powder using fire or electric source. And we know that this is the process that involves cremation, the one where fire is used almost 1,400 to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And there is also the chemical one, which is what they call the alkaline hydrolysis process, where a little bit of heat is used, but there's a lot of gallons of water and the chemical solution and everything else, and the heating coil just like this. And then the same process is followed. What are the benefits? Why are people going for it? Why are melanin dominant human beings going for it? They always tell us that it is proper and it is a modern one and usually affordable. And they say there is more time management and efficiency, environmental friendly. It saves space in the cemetery. That's what they tell us. And they say the ashes are portable, so you can take your ashes wherever you want to go. And they say allows creative ceremonies, and that the ashes may be divided amongst the people or families or close friends. When did cremation start? Is it an African culture? It's not. We have already proved that. We know that cremation dates from at least 17,000 years ago in the archaeological record, but it is not older or close to human origins. Therefore, it is not a natural method. It is a man-made method, a thought-out method. With all these advantages that we have enumerated, why is cremation a non-starter for melanin-dominant human beings? According to the late Dr. Gordon Chavunduka, a former vice-chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, he says the philosophy of death amongst the Shona, the Karanga in Africa, in African society, it takes about a year for a spirit to leave the body and join the spirit of the ancestors. That is the critical and most important aspect. It takes a year for the spirit to extract information from the physical body so that it can take that information to the judgment hall. If the body is cremated, that spirit would be blocked. Although it would remain alive, it would be angered that traditional burial rites had not been followed properly and would return to punish the family and community. That's one reason that he gives. But we will give more information and more proofs and the reasons why melanin-dominant human beings should not be cremated. Therefore, from what he says, cremation is a taboo amongst melanin-dominant human beings. It is part of witchcraft. It is part of the occult, negative occult. Therefore, consider cremation as a cruel way to get rid of the only vehicle the spirit can use and should use on earth, and during death and a year after death of that body, to be able to physically resurrect itself, this spirit, using the revered deceased body that has gone through proper burial rituals. Just like a seed planted into the earth, you can't crush that seed or destroy or burn that earth. You burn all the nutrients. So you say you burn the earth, then you plant the seed, or you burn the seed and plant it. You are wasting time. You are committing a major taboo. The major difference between cremationists and melanin-dominant human traditions is that we understand the human body differently. Male and dominant traditional view of the body is that the body is still alive and full of potential for over 12 months after death, and it seeks to allow the natural rebirth process to take place without burning the vehicle for resurrection into the ancestral world for the deceased. With this idea of bodily resurrection, we reach perhaps the most ancient stratum of ancient knowledge and conception of the afterlife, that is continuation of life as a physical corporeality. In other words, the physical aspect of the spirit is deemed correct. Our ancestors passed this knowledge, and it was left intact in oral practice before Christianity, Judaism, and Islam disturbed and confused our ancestors. Here is the death of the Zulu king. We once alluded to him again a few videos back. King Zwelithini, who passed on, and when he was being buried, they said he is planted and not buried. This is Pumza Fihlani reporting at Nongoma in KwaZulu-Natal. It's very clear, straightforward. It tallies and connects with our Sarije here. That's, he is being planted and is not being buried. With this idea of bodily resurrection, we reach perhaps the most ancient stratum of human conception of life, as revealed by our wise sages from the oldest and first and earliest and the original human species to walk on the earth, and their continuous understanding of physical corporeality and life and spirit, as demonstrated here, passing on from the physical to the spirit. You need priests, you need priestesses, you need diviners, spirit mediums for you when you die, and for them to perform the rituals that will allow the body to release the information that the spirit or the soul needs to take to the judgment hall. It's very, very critical. When we look at other male and dominant human cultures all over the earth, we find that cremation was taboo. No cremation for male and dominant human beings. You go to Madagascar, the Malagasy, the macabre. The macabre is the dance that is normally performed during the festival. Fama Dihana, also known as the turning of the bones. The bones are there. They have not been bent, they have not been crushed, they have not been grinded into powder. This is more like a party rather than a formal dance. This dance and festival is like the Day of the Dead ceremony. One major difference is that the turning of the bones is performed with the bones of the family's dead ancestors. You go to the funeral guide of Aboriginal funerals, beliefs, and death rituals of Aboriginal people. You will find that Aboriginal mortuary rites in Australia, when the loved one dies, they take him and perform what is known as the smoking ceremony to drive away evil spirits and clear his pathway for his spirit. The person is there, has not been cremated. Then the body is traditionally placed on top of a pyre. This is an aspect among us, the Karanga and the so-called Shonas in Zimbabwe called Banda. So friends cut and put exactly like this, but the Shona and the Karangas, it is not permanent. It is during the burial process, which normally takes place within a week or 7 days. The body is placed here and left to decompose here. So for it to take that process, other than in the earth, it is put on top of the earth. That's the slight difference. It has been reported that in some traditions, among the Aboriginals, the fluids from the platform can help identify who killed this person. So this is a diagram by Dr. Mark J. Smith illustrating that the bar, the car, and the ark, which we shall meet in our conclusion, really are connected with the deceased. This deceased is a physical flesh, bones, and blood. Is not cremated. Is the corpse. Hati is just as alive and active as the bar, the shadow, and the car. That's why in certain tradition they look for the shadow, and if there is a shadow, they know that the deceased wants to say something, and they communicate with him through the priests. The text repeatedly promised that the deceased will have power over his entire body, especially over his legs, in order that he may achieve fullness of movement and life. This is a dead person, and he is not cremated or she is not cremated. She is there. Not only the body, but also the body and the cognate entities, the car and the arc shadow, are endowed with physical vitality. This is a spirit. It actually lives. It's alive. Thou, Anubisa, has caused my bar and my shadow and my form to go with their feet to the place wherein that man is. Coffin text, volume 242D. If cremated, these efforts are blocked. And maybe worse things occur. The book of coming forth by day, so-called the book of the dead, is the most important book of all African religious texts. Its main goal was to protect and reanimate the corpse for continued existence in the next world. It was actually called the book of coming forth by day, Parutema Hore. In other words, the rules and regulations of crossing over the clouds. Aside from it is intended to enable the deceased to get up again and resume activities. Aside from general hymns, specific spells described, words to be spoken over the mummy or the body of the corpse at the time of burial, and because the ancient Crematians were resurrectionists, it is important that the body was intact and functioning. Of all the spells reanimating the body, perhaps the most important was the opening of the mouth ceremony. So if you cremate, you can't do that. If you do anything, you can't do that. You cannot say you mimic it by a statue or by something, but you need to do it if the person is alive. So is cremation satanic? Is cremation a form of some hidden rituals that involve burnt offerings of humans? We think of the Bohemian Grove and its activities using ancient symbols like Moloch and the Bohemian Club, the global elites, and what they do, and we have our own suspicions raised very high. You can see here, this is danger. All known descriptions of Moloch depict him as a horned bull and associate him with fire, daylight, and male energy. Ritualistic. See here, giving them a child and burning them off. So we have our doubts now, firmly planted, strong with this evidence. The cremation of K ritual performed in Bohemian Grove, burning a figs of human sacrifice or murder. The importance of differentiating this from the reality is difficult. You can study this Cambridge.org core journals on psychiatry about this, but we know that there is a lot, even if it is symbolic. And then we know there are people that are performing the actual cremation, whether that's their tradition or religion. We have this idea planted firmly in us of human sacrifice and burnt offerings of human dead bodies. Our ancient ancestors believed in an elaborate natural separation of the ninefold soul from the physical body. Through funeral practices, they knew that proper burial, not cremation, was necessary to ensure their immortality in eternity after death. These rituals involved a few days of mourning, washing of the body, burying it into the earth, into the grave, placing grave goods and gifts, offering prayers and coffins and writing messages, and also the book of coming forth by day given to the deceased, or they would have studied it during their life and they know the passwords to go forward. Since our ancestors were the smartest people from antiquity and highly connected to the higher realms of existence and reality and vibrations, we know cremation is not suitable for us. Maybe for others, yes. But it may be a ploy in human sacrifices, being sacrificed to negative deities. Here is a prayer that we need to understand and analyze a little bit. Come to thine house, O Ausari, first of the Westerners. Come to thine house. O thou who comest forth from the womb, with the uraeus on thine head, thine eyes illuminate the two lands and the gods. Raise thee up, O sovereign, our Lord, he shatter the negative deity. Who rebelled against thee is at the execution block and shall not be. Be stable in thy name of stable one. Thou hast thy body, O king. Thou hast thy body, not cremated. Omnofarisa, thou hast thy flesh. It's not burned. It's supposed to be decomposed or preserved. Oh, thou art weary of heart, still there, fearing. Go thou in peace to Busiris. Raise thee up, O Ausari. Raise thee up in peace. Not in cremation, not in fire, not being chopped into pieces, not being ground in powder, but in peace, one piece. These are from the Bremer-Rind papyrus, the songs of Isisu and Nephtites, as they sang and performed their burial ritual and mourning rituals for Ausari. Very, very powerful, very, very important. One thing that we must understand, these are the rights. These are melanin dominant rights. No matter whether you are from Africa, whether you are in Europe, as long as you are melanin dominant, these are your traditions. You may do cremation, that's your choice. Now, because of the afterlife, because of the matters of eternity, because of the matters of ancestry, proper earthly burial of this physical flesh and bones is mandatory for every melanin dominant human being to achieve eternity and the afterlife. Cremation is an African practice. It is not for melanin dominant human beings. Our wise ancestors never practiced it. It is not for us. Archaeologists found a skeleton buried in Kenya 78,000 years ago. We know that Europeans appeared on the earth 8,500 years ago. We also know that Asians appeared on the earth 15,000 years ago. There was no cremation before them. Nothing except the 17,000 year archaeological find that was done in Australia, which we would assume to be an exception for another purpose, not as a normal practice, as we have demonstrated again that they would not bury but leave the dead to decompose. Therefore, because we have been here on the earth for 3 billion years or more, burying right into the earth is the proper way for us. Cremation is not an option for carbon dominant human beings, for melanin dominant human beings. Therefore, it is a taboo. It is critical for us to understand and to discuss these issues, to find out more shocking truths. Watch, comment, and subscribe to our channel. You may want to find more by enrolling in our 14-module Bantu Foundation course, where you will dig out some more and where you will be challenged to look into a lot of other matters. You can visit our website and connect with us on join@marifado.com or see and read some stuff on our Facebook page. KT is your body before death. Khati is your body after death. Not cremation, no ashes here. Sha is your body after proper burial. Sahu, you are coming up. Aku is now your final body after your physical resurrection, a subsequent transfiguration out of the grave into your divine state after judgment and reward. None of the above will occur without proper natural burial. Therefore, cremation is taboo among melanin dominant human beings. Till we meet again, your Hamaneja Topi, Kunkeni Tumizulu Njakanja Mskaban, saying, prepare to be planted, prepare to be buried, not to be cremated. Amen.